All views of our guests in our podcast are theirs. We are just bringing them to you. Please use your own judgment. Hello and welcome to Vidcast. Today we have as our guest Ajitha Srinivasan. This wasn't a planned interview, it just organically evolved in the sense that I was speaking with her and we were discussing about what we are all going through, the COVID crisis, and she had some very profound things to say. So I, with her permission, quickly recorded the whole conversation, and here we are. I'm presenting this to you.
At a very deep level, as souls, we are very brave as souls. As spirits, we are extremely brave. For us, what may look like an immense, horrific experience may be something that our souls have chosen to really evolve ourselves through that experience. You know, the reason we get triggered, you see people getting triggered online, in news, everywhere people are triggered because why do you get triggered? You get triggered because there's some part of you that relates to that experience. You may not have gone through it. Why do we get upset about people getting killed? Why do we get upset about the atrocities against children and all that stuff that's happening? Is because a part of us, as a deeper eternal existence as a soul, has experienced it either as an oppressor or as the oppressed at some point in the timeline. Wherever it may be, because time exists only here on Earth dimension. Outside of this, when you look at quantum physics, you know, time and space doesn't exist. So we feel that trigger because somewhere we can understand what it feels like to be in that position, although we may have never experienced something like that here and now. And to experience something like that at some point has taught us something at a very deep soul level, because we all have learned something through our existence as eternal spirits, and that's what the evolution of a spirit is all about. So going back to the statement about collateral damage, is that those souls that have chosen to leave the planet right now are doing the biggest service that they can from a soul level to teach us, those of us that are still here and now, to really be able to appreciate what it is to be in this body, to be on Earth right now, to be in this life, to experience things in the physical. You know, we have come here because we want to experience these things. People ask me, "Oh, you
It's
say."
a choice.
Absolutely, it's a choice. It's a free will. It's a choice at a deeper soul level to even leave, right? When it's time for us to leave, we leave at that, and fully understanding that whatever our souls came here to do is done. For these souls that have chosen to leave at this time through COVID as an experience are profound in their in what they have left for us as a message. Because
I do hope that those of who have lost their loved ones would take some solace in what you're saying.
but you will. I mean, we lose loved ones, to various situations. COVID is one where we are able to. So this is I was actually writing up an article on COVID-19 and its impact on organizations as well from a corporation perspective. But I do feel that this particular pandemic has woken up us as a human species to very two fundamental fears that we have been grappling with from time immemorial. One is the fear of death, and the other is the fear of isolation. And these two things have really, really surfaced up on a mass level for us, because there is no denying it right now. It's right in front of us. And I do believe, again, from my perspective, the lesson it is teaching us is one, to be in the now, because you will only be in a state of anxiety or depression is when you're not here and now. And either you're worried about, is it going to be me next? What's going to happen to my loved ones? What is going to happen to my job? What's going to happen to my financial? So there's so much we are, clouding ourselves with, and that is the cause for all the, even more fear in that's surfacing up. Now, what could be, and I'm a firm believer that everything that's in our reality is also teaching us. It's a gift. Nothing comes without a positive silver lining to it. Every time you see a shadow, you do have that gift that comes with it. So from my perspective, the two fundamental fears that this thing has cropped up for all of us at a mass level, it's showing us a very deeper lesson. The gift it has for us is to be in the now, to be present here and now. You are alive this very moment. You are healthy this very moment. What are you doing about it? What are you doing with it? Right? There's such a powerful message for us on that front. And the other is, knowing that we don't control much of what's happening around us except to be disciplined on our own, to wear the mask and to maintain social distance, it is also teaching us to let go, to trust at some level, to surrender. Again, this is a trigger word for a lot of people who are wired for action. Surrender. What do you mean by surrender? You mean like I don't do anything? The meaning of surrender on a deeper spiritual level is that when you trust that you are here as an eternal spirit in this body to do something, right? Whatever that.
An active surrender then?
It is I call it surrender because you are going to be acting from a place of guidance, from a place of inspiration, not from a place of force.
Right.
Not from a place of force. You don't, just because you have to do something, people start getting online and start venting their frustration. All they are doing is just showing their own inability to handle the situation that's going on right now. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly fine way to release an emotion too, right? But the only challenge is we are missing out on the gift that this has for us. The gift it has for us is to trust, to surrender, and to let go, trusting that things that ought to fall in place are going to fall in place over a period of time. It's teaching us immense level of patience. Right? So there's so much gift that this particular scenario has for us as human species, that should we choose to take it on, it's going to take our collective consciousness to a whole different level of vibration. So this is that, I feel it's like that shift point for us. We can choose to, yes, that's also a choice. We can choose to.
It's really very lot of depth in what you're saying. So let me ask you a chicken and egg situation.
Sure.
Which came first, Gaya or your thought process?
Oh, my company actually, my thought process is what I would say, because my company's name stands for In the New Earth, in Nova Gaia. And the reason I named my company that way is because I believe that we are ready for bringing heaven on earth.
Okay.
And that's what I call the new earth. Okay. And this is not something that I have coined or anything. When I was at the start of my spiritual journey back in 2015, I read up a lot of articles about ascension, about spiritual awakening, the time for bringing, the age of Aquarius, if you've heard about it, right?
There's a song too.
Yeah, so there's so much of information already out there. And the beauty is that it's only when you are ready that those things start to come to you. Because
there's a saying in Hindu philosophy that when you're ready, the guru appears.
Exactly. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? Exactly. So it's not that even now, people that are listening to this interview as we are talking through this, people may just shut off and leave the first moment they hear anything spiritual, because they're not ready for it. It may not be for them.
Right.
The point is that we end up resonating. And this is what I tell even those that come to my speaking events, or even my own clients and students of my healing modality. I always tell them, you do not have to believe a single word of what I say. You take what resonates for you, because all we are doing here in this time and in this point in time here on earth is just remembering who we are.
Right.
We typically remember who we are once we leave this body, and then you go like, oh my gosh, that was it. Why did I take it so seriously? This is a afterthought that happens when we are out of this body, which many people who have had out of body experience, near death experience, have all vouched for that. A sense.
I think you could kind of read Anita Moorjani too, right? You have quoted her in several of your articles.
Yes. So she has, lived through the near-death experience, come back as a survivor, or from cancer, as a cancer remission. So, there are many such people that have gone to the other side, if you may, and realized that, why did I take life so seriously? It was, I was there by choice. I was there to learn something, and I completely missed the point. That kind of understanding comes through. So what happens when you go through what's called a spiritual awakening in your life here and now in the body is that you lose that veil of illusion. You don't have to go to the other side to realize what you're here for. You realize it while you're here and now. And when you have that understanding, you go like, okay, so this is what my life is about. My life is about just loving myself, learning to be me, that's it. That's the bottom line. So if that's what it is for me, now how do I share this with others? I can go around shouting from the rooftops that, hey, don't take life so seriously. It's fine. We're here for a finite time, but we're here to also learn lessons and enjoy the journey. It's not going to resonate for those who are not ready for it, because they are deep down learning their lessons. They're so in the thick of learning their lessons, right? It ain't going to resonate for them. So this is why I tell my students, clients, and people that come to my speaking events is, don't take anything that I say for what it is. Just go based on what feels right for you, because whatever feels right for you is what I'm helping you remember through just what I'm saying right now. And that's that's it. That's my purpose of being there at that point, whether it's a speaking event or whether through this interview, whatever way it unfolds is fine, as long as it resonates for you.
Something like a sympathetic vibration, right? You have two tuning forks of the same frequency.
Exactly.
One is if the other starts vibrating. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where the word resonance is coming from. Is that, and you talk about frequencies. That's a very, very close to heart topic for me. Is that you bring in people, you bring in situations, you bring in events based on what frequency you are at. Energy frequency, right? Okay. So going back, I know this is something my theta healing teacher always talks about, and this is something we also teach when we teach the modality that I practice is thoughts are electric. Every time we have a thought, we have an electric impulse in our brain. Right. And every thought brings this magnetic, the emotions that it brings up, right? The emotions are magnetic. So if you think about human beings, we are electromagnetic beings, and we are circulating with an electromagnetic, field around us. And
is that what is called the aura as well?
Yes, in some sense, you may term it so, because those of us that are at a higher frequency, because we have figured a way to, bump up our thoughts to be more positive, and our emotions are at a higher frequency, which is, above neutrality and above courage, where you're in the spectrum of joy, you're the spectrum of gratitude. So those frequencies are higher frequencies, and when you are in those thoughts and emotions, your frequency happens to be higher. And that ends up becoming your aura, which is what people call as, these are all very detailed way of explaining it, but when you walk into a room where two people have just fought, you just sense it. Nobody says anything, right? Right. And there are those people from whom, like 30 feet away, you don't even want to go anywhere near them. And where do you get? It's not like you know anything about them, right? So this shows proof that energy exists. We are energy. And the frequency that we are in, our dominant frequency, is what ends up bringing or attracting, because we're electromagnetic. We want to attract people and events to us based off of that. Right. So this goes to prove that we are creating our reality as we go, right? So
that's the whole thing of quantum physics, right?
Exactly.
When anything is observed, changes its characteristics.
Absolutely. The act of witnessing changes everything. And thank you for saying that, because that's the fundamental premise of the healing modality that I'm practicing as well. We don't call ourselves healers. And I make this very, very clear when I practice as well as when I teach, is that you're not a healer. You're witnessing the healing happening, or the transformation that's happening with the energy of creation. So
the good side effect of that is you don't get a swollen head, right?
Exactly. Keeps your ego in check. And it works both ways. It's like you can't take credit. You don't have to take the blame either. Exactly.
I'm sorry I cut you in. I just had to say that.
No, that is very, very spot on observation. So yes, the quantum physics premise, or the base assumption is that we create by the act of witnessing, and hence by being electromagnetic, and the fact that we are creating our reality through the frequency, we are co-creators. So when we understand that we are creating our reality, we are coming from a place of no longer being a victim of our situation or our scenario or our life. And that to me was so eye-opening. It's like, if you're telling me I'm creating my reality, that's the best news I could have ever had. Why? Because I get to control only me. And if I'm creating my reality, hey, great, then I get to fix it too if I don't like what I see. Right. It is so empowering in so many ways. And that, I think, is a fundamental shift that many of us are ready to now take on or internalize, because we've been walking around, and this is no judgment in any sense, because I was there up until 5 years ago, walking around thinking life happens to me, right? But now the understanding that no.
Happen.
Yes. Right. I make life happen by the choices, by my thoughts, by my beliefs, right? So that's such a fundamental shift that just is so empowering and allows me to really be the master of who I want to be. So that is the base.
So you were in our earlier the same conversation sometime before we just at the start of the conversation, you had mentioned about how this virus is causing a change in people's thinking. So is it enough of a critical mass to change the entire thinking of the universe? And we are all connected neurally, I guess, that neural
Energetically
network,
too.
energetically. So are we getting into a point where we have a critical mass so that the entire universe changes? Do you think that's happening?
Again, yes. I believe that's why when I started this discussion, I said, I feel like I've been preparing my whole
Yeah,
existence for this period, is what I said.
right.
And the reason I said that is because it's not just me. There are a lot of us that have come here with that very purpose of being here at this very point in time to help with that transformation. And if I was not in the journey that I have been in the past 5 years, I don't think I would have been ready for this at all.
Right, right.
So in many ways, a lot of us, not just me, a lot of people here on earth have been on this journey of waking up one fine day, or something spurs in their reality that wakes them up to, okay, this is what I'm here for, and this makes perfect sense, right? It's like taking off the veils of illusion and then waking up and saying, okay, I get it. I completely get everything. And, or at least in terms of what it means to me. Right. And so to answer your question, I think there's a tipping point book by Malcolm Gladwell who talks about critical point of mass. Yeah, it's called the tipping point. So
Did he write any other books? Because that name rings a bell to me.
yes, he did. And I'm trying to remember the other one.
Yeah, okay.
He has written a couple of them, which have all been bestsellers, by the way. Tipping point definitely comes to mind only because that would answer your question in terms of critical mass. Have enough people woken up to who they are and what they are here for in order to help this shift in consciousness. I believe if it hasn't already happened, this is going to be the event that gets us there.
Oh, that's heartening. That is the real silver lining, this whole thing.
Yes, and I truly believe that because, again, nobody in their living memory or even in history have seen something impact globally the way this one has, especially in today's day and time when we have so many advancements in, the scientific front, the medical front, the technology front, and here we are grappling with something that is so unimaginable. It's like, where did this even come from? Like, how could this even happen, right?
So it doesn't discriminate from race, doesn't discriminate color, doesn't discriminate wealth.
No.
It's
No.
Just, that's the thing. That's the what the beauty is a word that I have to use here. I know it's cruel, but it's something that it's the great leveler, as you would say.
It's message, and in my article, which is going to come out here shortly, I do call this a messenger with a profound message of how one we are, more than we can ever imagine, right? Exactly. You look on the one side before COVID or even now, how much we differentiate, distinguish, and separate ourselves from one another through religion, through color, through race, through geography, nationality, orientation, whatever. Take everything we can decide to differentiate and separate ourselves, we have done it. And here comes a profound messenger with the message saying, guess what? What affects one affects all. You're all interconnected and you're not free from this, right?
Yeah, like someone is telling me it's going to be a time as we're going to refer to as DC and AC. Before Corona,
after Corona,
no more DC and AD business.
Yeah, true, very true. Because again, it's got some very profound message for us as human species, and I believe, and I truly believe that this is going to be like I said, it's already a leveler, and it's going to be a game changer of how we approach life. What becomes important to us? It's because if you think about it, a lot of us have never taken the time. Again, no judgment to anybody. Just because I happen to have an experience 5 years ago and I am where I am does not make me any different or better than anybody else. It's just that we have never taken the time to sit and to just be with ourselves, right? How often do we just step out? We are always about the outside. Who can I fix? How can I fix somebody else so that my life gets better? Who can I blame? So everything is outward. Now here comes a pandemic that pushes you inside into four walls where you have to be with people that you're living as a family, but haven't spent enough time, probably never gotten to know them well enough. They're triggering you right, left, and center.
Yeah. You get to see all the warts.
You get to see everything, and you have no way to escape. There is no way to escape. Now you just sit down with yourself and saying, what is really happening? Why is this happening? And there is really no escape, because you now are forced to go within, and that's where everything is. Because you are creating your reality. So when you don't take the time to look within, here comes a force that is asking you to go within and says, okay, find what your lesson is. What are you learning from this? What do you need to do to change? Because you no longer can escape from any of this in your reality. It's a forced measure that's forcing us to go within. And the beauty on the very positive side, you can see how many people are tapping into their creative arts that have been dormant for ages. Right? People are singing, people are dancing, people are on TikTok, as much as people want to, judge TikTok, etc. Keeping that aside, it's a great platform people to just express.
I started podcasting.
There you go. See, that's what I'm saying. There's definitely good things that are coming out of it, with no question about it. And I truly believe that this is going to be a changer in many ways that hopefully will put us into that higher frequency consciousness where we truly understand that we are not a human being having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, right?
Yeah, that's so profound. And the other thing that I kind of concluded with this whole thing, conclusion would be a bad word, but you know what I'm saying. So I think the barrier, the dichotomy, the binary choice of good and bad has gone. Because it's a bad thing doing good things.
Yeah.
A bad virus doing good things to people. So it's two sides of the same coin and all that we know. But now that coin has dissolved.
True.
It's just a continuum, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes. And that is truly, this is something we really internalize in theta healing, the modality that I practice, because the plane of good and bad, right and wrong, right? The evil versus the goodness, all of that is a plane which divides and separates us. The minute you step above it, which is from a plane of creation, right? The energy of all that is the source energy, the universal consciousness. There is no more separation at that level, because everything is part of creation.
Right.
And everything is lending itself to an experience that allows you to learn the opposite. Right?
So if you stress the argument, there wouldn't be a me and a you, right?
There isn't. We are just different expressions of the same thing, choosing to have our own reality by being in this particular identity that we have chosen to be.
Would you say two waves of the same ocean?
You could, yes, because ocean is all, continuous too, right? So it could be two waves of the same ocean, two ends to the same rope, having different experience, call it whatever. There is no denial that we are completely connected in more than many ways that we can even imagine, right? We are one. This is the essence of, if you look at any spiritual teaching, keep aside religion for a moment, any spiritual teaching, it says that we are all oneness. We have come from the same source.
Yeah.
Right. So that in itself is a big leveler. That in itself shows us that we have chosen to come into existence in different forms, different bodies, and different identities, what we call as our ego presence, simply because what we wanted to experience of what we are here to learn and grow with. But if you take that and go a step above, right, that from the level of creation, there is really no positive, negative, good, evil, all that. And if you think about it, human beings as species have spent such a long time just fighting across the two. Right? And we have mythology that goes with it. We have stories that go with how good succeeded evil and what's right, what's wrong. I think to your point about COVID-19 and what it has made us now look at is every single thing that we experience, while we always have the choice to look at the shadow, as I call it, the shadow side or the gift side. So COVID's no different. It's come with the shadow side of the impacts it's having, but it's got that blessing or the gift as well as an offering to us. And at any point in time, just like everything else, it's going to be upon us. What are we choosing?
Right. And the minute you realize that we are all one, that I think the first emotion that arises from that is love.
Yes, absolutely. That I would say is the fundamental connecting aspect to everything. And I truly, I say this and I believe in this completely, is love is all there is.
Yeah, I would begin to think so.
Love is all there is.
Everything else is a degradation of that one. I would even call it the primordial emotion.
Yes, and everything else is the absence of love. That's just it.
Yeah. So darkness would be an absence of light.
Absence of light, exactly. So love is all there is, and that is the fundamental emotion. As someone who is grieving is missing love. Someone who is angry is missing love. You look at every single other low frequency emotion you're going through, at some level it's because of the absence of love for yourself or absence of love from somewhere else.
Right.
So it boils down to that.
So what exactly goes on in a theta healing? I know these are things that are available, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Sure. So theta healing is a meditation modality, and what we basically do as practitioners, we first learn how to get ourselves into the theta brainwave state. And I'm pretty sure many of us have heard about the different brainwaves that we experience as human beings. And in theta brainwave specifically is where you have the ability to access the subconscious mind. And it's also the same brainwave frequency that allows you to connect to the universal source energy. Right. So you're doing two things while you're at the theta brainwave state. You're connecting to that source energy, which is, which people may term as God, universe, the creator, the source, however we term it, that energy that we have all come from. And it also is a state where we are able to access our own subconscious mind. And in this modality, we basically are witnessing as practitioners the changes that are necessary to be witnessed to change a reality. Now, the change a reality could be a disease. It could be a belief that we have taken on that is no longer serving us. Not, we have done learning the lesson it had for us now, but we are still holding on to that belief. And we now, and that's not really helping us move forward in life. So it could be, when I talk about changing reality, is you're changing either a disease or a condition. You could change the beliefs. You could you can bring in new feelings that, if somebody doesn't know what it feels like to be loved because they've never experienced what it is to be loved, all they know is their mother hitting them as a child and saying, I'm hitting you because I love you. Their understanding is messed up. Their brain is messed up with the definition of love means pain, for example, right? So what we do here is, clean all that. We clear all that stuff, whatever programs we may have developed as a child or even genetically, right? We've talked about, we talk a lot about inheriting diseases like diabetes and things like that, which are, it's in my genes. I'm prone to this, or I'm prone to that. It's true for even beliefs. If in our ancestry, we have come through an ancestral, lineage where being poor was helping us to develop some virtues, then we think we may carry that as a belief genetically as well, which is not allowing us to prosper in this life. So those are some examples where we look at where it's actually, we don't consciously do this. We are just guided to look at what is it that the person really wants to address in that session. We get guided with the connection to that source energy in theta brainwave state, and we just ask to witness whatever changes that are best and highest for this individual at this point in time. Of course, with this, we have to make sure we get permission for every single step of the change we are doing, because your subconscious, if you don't say yes to it, it's going to kick it out right away. It's going to say, this is not a program I want to accept because, right? So we take your permission. So this is not something you can do to someone without their consent.
You can't make someone, what's the word I'm looking for? You cannot dominate over somebody.
Yes, you cannot dominate. You cannot manipulate. You cannot, you cannot act in ways that you think can help you fix somebody. Because if you're coming to this with an intention of fixing somebody, that's not going to happen for sure.
Right.
So this is all about working with a person with their complete free will and with their complete consent on what they want to change in their life and help them make those changes on an energetic level. That's pretty
I
much the
sometimes,
session like.
yeah, I sometimes, start thinking of things as images. While you're speaking, uh, it appears to me that there are a lot of little individuals in my body, and you kind of trying to unify all of them. And is that a right picture? Do you think
In many ways, yes. For example,
is having its own tug of war on you?
yes, we have so many different parts of us that are stuck in certain beliefs, if you may. A part of me may not believe in something, a part of me may believe, or even in terms of your brain, the way brain, you ideally would want to have a brain that's a whole brain thinking. Many of us grow up either with a dominant left brain or a dominant right brain. And I'll give my personal example. Before I experienced theta healing, I used to compartmentalize my day and weeks. Like during 9 to 5 in my job that I was in at the bank, I used to only exercise my left brain, analytical, rational, logical thinking.
Right.
And then when it's 5 o'clock in the evening or in the weekends, I switch to my right brain. I start doing beading, drawing, painting, dancing,
Right.
music, and everything.
Right.
And when I went to the very first session with my theta healing teacher, she just was scanning me energetically and she says, you have a complete divide on your brain. Like you seem to either do this or that. There's no connection between the two. Would you mind if I just were to integrate your two halves of the brain so you can work with all of them? And that has been an incredible change for me, because now I bring the full me to everywhere I go. I can be creative while I'm solving an analytical problem for an organization, and I can at the same time be analytical when it comes to music or dance or understanding the steps. So it's a huge shift. So I gave that example to just reinforce what you're saying, is that there are so many aspects of us that are not integrated. So the goal of this modality is to help you become whole and complete, and more importantly, free you from all that you've been believing that's holding you back.
Right. So there has to be a whole, right, for you to be able to see all these small little bits and things. I'm talking about a very individual opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean me, but as a human,
Mm-hmm.
you are able to observe these kinks in your head. So, are you? So, is that consciousness kind of observing things happening? So, which is the real me? Is these bits and pieces floating around, or is the one that's observing things happening?
That's a very interesting question. So I can answer this from a practitioner standpoint, meaning for me, me observing what it is that I'm shown or given. I mean, the information that comes to me when I'm in theta state could be in any of the senses, clair senses as they call it. It could be clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, any of them, which basically is you can either hear it, you will either see it as in visualize it, or you feel it, or you just know it.
So
Any
you
of
tap
those.
into something. Sorry. So you tap into some divine energy, or I mean, for want of a better word.
Yeah, so the way we do theta healing meditation is basically we close our eyes and we are taught how to get our brain to theta brainwave state. And that's not the only way, by the way. You when you laugh, you get to theta brainwave state.
Ah.
Yes, you do. And when you, what are the other? There are sounds. There are specific solfeggio frequencies, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. The binaural sounds.
Yes. Those are also, those meditating to those sounds also help you get to theta brainwave state. So there are many ways to get to theta brainwave state. It's the one that we do is what we are trained as part of the practice that we do.
Okay.
And just by virtue of that, we learn to consciously bring our brain to theta brainwave state. And when we do that, we feel the connection to the energy of all that is. And people feel it. For me, it is a clear tingling sensation, and I can feel the energy coming down to my body. Here is the thing. We are always connected from the source that we come from. We are always. There's no way we can be disconnected. That's, this is something, again, my theta healing teacher beautifully says. You cannot be disconnected from the source. You are always connected. Exactly. The only difference is now you've become more aware, and you are now able to tap into that energy for the changes that you want to see happen in your in your reality for your life and for everybody else who wants to, who are guided to come to you for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically that. It's connecting to that energy, or being aware of that energy, a connection to that energy.
Right. So, I've made little notes about this. In fact, I wanted to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
According to Theta healing, there's 7 planes of existence, right?
Yes.
You talk about 7 planes of existence. Any similarity between the 7 chakras and the 7 notes of a music scale? 7 oceans?
That's a very interesting connection and observation that you've made, which I have not, by the way. I have not made that connection. But when it comes to, again, how do I say this? In the body, we have, again, I'm pointing here because those are my chakra drawings right there. In the body, they're in different places. But if you think about 7 planes of existence, they are coexisting at all points in time. And I'll just, if you may give me a couple of minutes, I'll just explain what they are and why I see them to be coexisting. So this is Vienna Stibble's explanation of how she was given the 7 planes of existence from the source energy. 7 planes, basically, the first plane is the plane of minerals, earth, rock, crystals. Second plane is the plane of plants. Third plane is the plane of animals and human beings. The fourth plane is the plane of spirits. And fifth plane is the plane of ascended masters and archangels and angels. And sixth plane is the plane of laws. And seventh is the plane of energy of all that is. Now, while she may divide it in the sense for us to kind of grasp ourselves to that concept, all 7 planes are acting right now, this very moment around us. They're all together, right? Okay. For example, we have, rock and earth right outside there. I have a plant right in my table right here.
Right.
We are humans. We are here right now on this third plane. And, while we can't see, we do have spirits around us, which may freak a few people out, but they're just there. You don't need to worry about them, but they're there. Okay. Same with, people that talk about angels or guides, spirit guides, or even religion. Religion is a 5th plane, religion comes from 5th plane. And that's the plane of duality as well. We've all been stuck in 5th plane for a while. And that's where this good, right, wrong, all of that comes from. So we all, at any given point in time, we are born with 4 guardian angels. And we have spirit guides who are with us, and they come in and out depending on what stage in your life you're going through. They are there to guide you. They will not interfere with your free will or your choices, because you're here to learn, right? It's like you have a guide. The guide is only going to help when you ask for help.
Oh, okay.
So,
how simple is that?
Yes, you can ask for help. You obviously can at any point ask for help. That's the point I emphasize to my clients and my students is you're never alone. You're always supported. You just need to be able to receive that support. You should be open to receiving, right? And law of gravity is acting right now. We're both sitting. We're not floating because thanks to law of gravity, right? And the energy of all that is the energy created everything. So all 7 planes are in existence this very moment, here and now. Okay. So I don't see the difference. You think? Sorry?
Is it in different proportions or the other thing?
Different proportion to the level of our awareness.
Okay. Okay. So there is a ladder, an evolutionary ladder, even in the spiritual plane.
It's basically, I would call the awareness ladder. It's how much aware we are. The more we work and clear our own self, the more aware we become. That's all.
Is it also, could it also be said that you get more receptive at every stage?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And what is blocking us from being receptive is our own inherited beliefs and system that we are operating, the operating system as we call it, right?
Right.
The hardware is the body, software is the brain, the programs. So if we have programs that are still running in DOS or old style program, you can do what Windows XP or latest Windows 10 can do. Simple as that.
Like wise guy said, let's download 2020 again because
it's got a virus, exactly. So we get to, in Theta Healing, we get to download all the new operating system, belief systems that will help us act like a evolved being. So
I was also reading about these in Hindu philosophy, which you also the 5 kosas, the Annamaya kosa, the Manomaya kosa. There's different sheets in the body that vibrates to a particular energy level. So the first is the basic thing of food. That's 5. I was trying to see a correlation between the number 7 because it's always trying to, even numerology, number 7 has some kind of magical
Mm-hmm.
thing to it.
Yeah, so I'll be fully honest. I'm not familiar with what you just said about the kosas. Is that what you said? Yeah,
Sheets, as they say, yeah.
yeah. I am not, but numerology is actually sixth plane. The plane of laws, astrology, numerology are all sixth plane.
Oh,
What do you call knowledge that we tap
right,
into?
right. And while I
So,
was researching on all this, there's another lovely thought that came across my mind. The avatar system in Hinduism,
mhm.
with Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, it actually benchmarks the evolutionary ladder too, like the
Okay.
aquatic age, plant
Uh-huh.
age, the animal, So that was something I wanted to share with you.
Yeah, so that isn't that. So now is when the age of Aquarius
Yeah,
is
the age of Aquarius.
predicted around now.
Yeah, it's around now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so everything seems to be falling in place, whichever way you
yes,
look at it.
yes. The truth is the same no matter which perspective. You know,
Yeah,
which direction you look.
yeah,
Go deep down to all the religious teachings. The message is the same. That fundamental aspect of what you and I talked about, love being the connector and the
yeah.
base thing, is it's everywhere. It's the
And
same everywhere.
that's the only logical emotion that can come once you realize everything is one, right? Because
Yes,
you can't be happy
absolutely.
anymore after that.
Yes,
Because then
exactly.
you'll be harming yourself, in fact.
Yes. And to be fully honest, the any lower level emotion really stems from the place where we have not learned to love ourselves. It's just a reflection of that.
Hmm.
It's when we are truly able to love and fully accept ourselves. That's when we can accept anybody else too.
That's true.
Every time we deny a part of us, every time we deny love for ourselves, every time we are not compassionate with ourselves,
Hmm.
we just can't
It's
express
almost you're
that.
going into yourself, into your own shell. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So that's why I feel all the work we need to do is inside.
right.
Once we fix the inside, the outside changes automatically.
Yeah. Um, Double split experiment in quantum physics, right? One.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been amazing talking with you, Ajitha, and I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with
My
me.
pleasure. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. It's the timing is perfect than ever.
Right. That's why I wanted to reach out to you because I knew you were into theta healing and stuff. So once again, thank you very much, and we'll connect.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.